on, because what's recorded and said in here will also be available on our YouTube channel afterwards. So just to remind you, cameras and audio off. Often there's things happening in the background. Someone will walk past. I'm not sure they want to be all over YouTube. So for that reason, we are going to ask you to keep them switched off. Without any further delay then, I'm just going to jump back into the presentation. So as you can see, we are going to look at three very simple steps in Flipgrid. And first of all, we're going to see, well, how on earth do you create a grid? And then how do topics link into it? And then final part of the jigsaw is people that have invited to your Flipgrid making video responses. I'll take questions and answers at the end, as today's session isn't going to be a long one because Flipgrid is quite a self-contained application. But you'll get an opportunity to ask anything if it's not clear to you. Also, if you are using Flipgrid in your school, I know I've got quite a few people. We've got an MIEE program for Microsoft teachers that are training, and there's a lot of people on that program are using Flipgrid really effectively. So if you've had some experience, you're using it in your school, then please do jump on and tell us about that at the end. So the getting started is, for step one, you need to create a grid, and we'll do this in real time. Grids can either be for a class in your school, they could be around the subject you teach, they could be part of a learning community. So maybe you've got an enrichment club and you do coding, or you've got a STEM club or something like that. So you can have it for a learning community. Also, it can be for staff communities. So I've seen schools really effectively using this for sharing and celebrating all the good work that's going on in school, and staff can leave very short videos, as you'll see, about something they're doing either in their classroom or with their team, and then how it gets shared across the school is through Flipgrid. So you could also have a whole school, because the staff community could be just subsections of the staff, or it could be, as I've got a few head teachers using this, across the whole school. And every time somebody does something that's worth sharing or worth adding, that's going to enhance or enrich the school, the teachers go on and they make a response. So there's lots of ways that you can create a grid, and we'll do it in a moment. Once you've got a grid, you need to ask a topic. So topics really they sit inside of grids. And their themes or their challenges, or as I've already said, it could be with that staff example, their celebrations. But what they're meant to be is a stimulus to discussion. And the whole thing about Flipgrid is to encourage voice, but particularly as we're looking at education, it's pupil voice. The idea is, if you've got something to say and it's worth the others hearing it, pop it in Flipgrid, and it's the place where it can be shared, but shared safely, but also gathered together so that everyone can access it. So then step three are people making responses. So as you can see, it's available on quite a wide range of devices. It can work on traditional computers because it goes in a web browser. There is an app that can be installed in some cases. And at the same point, we've got, someone just told me my screen isn't sharing, so I'll reshare that with you. I'm obviously having one of those days as well. Should be able to see it now. I'll just jump backwards a minute. So step one is the grids. Step two is creating the themes and topics, and there can be themes, challenges, or celebrations. Step three is about people making responses, and you can see from this picture it's available on computers, it's also available on mobile phones, and it's available on tablets. It's an app on mobile phones and tablets, and the app's pretty good, and it's got most of the functions of the desktop version. But if you're a teacher and you're using Flipgrid in your school, then you need to make sure that you use it in the browser version, and downloading doesn't necessarily give you all the features. So you'll need to use the web version, which I'm about to show you in a minute. Uploading the videos we'll cover, and then that grid is just available for whatever community that you've linked up to it. So without any further delay, we'll go over and look at the process. So the first thing you're going to need to do is create an educator sign up, and the educator sign up is easily found. If you search on the internet for Flipgrid, first thing it says is either sign in or join up for the education community, and then you go through what we've just described, creating the grids, adding the topics, and people making their responses. You do need to be mindful of your audience, and you need to tailor your topics and your grids to suit. What works well for a class doesn't necessarily work well for teachers, And also there's availability there to join mine. So I've got at the bottom a demo one, which is on that URL down at the bottom of the screen. So if anyone wants to join in and make a response on my Flipgrid in this session, I'll just read that for you for anyone who's not got the screen on at the moment. It is flipgrid.com/TIOMIEES2. So that would take you to my Flipgrid with my topic that I'm using for this session, and you can make a video response in there, or you can go and have a look. So we're trying to be as interactive as possible. I'm going to jump over, and when you arrive the first time, this will be empty. I'm in my grids at the moment, but the first thing you'll be prompted to do on arrival is to make a grid. So let's do that. You can see down the bottom here, I've got a test one, which I've played around with before. And I've also got the session 2 one, which is the link I just shared. And at the moment, that's got one topic, and I created that a little while ago for another demonstration. So if you want to make a grid, you go up here to add new grid, and you're presented with this screen. You're going to need to give it a title. So I might say this one is going to be for TIO staff community. You get 45 characters there. You can have your spaces in between, or you can have it all as one. So I'll give some spaces to it there. You need to choose the type that's required, whether you're going to make people use their school email. So if you're using this with pupils, students, it's good to choose that option because it means they're forced to sign in with their school email address. Also makes it secure. You can use a school ID, but that's not for education purposes. Sorry, student ID. And you can have an educator learning community, and that's a very public grid. So if you want people to contribute from all over the world, maybe your school's doing a piece of outreach work, the educator learning community, or ELC, is the choice there. Now, by default, you're given a code like the one I just read to you. It will go on your surname and it'll attach a random string of numbers, but I want to make it more memorable, so I am going to rename it, and I'm going to call it TIO, let's say TIO Staff Com. To remind me it's TIO staff community. Again, you get 20 characters there. It ticks away, so it's really, really quick to do. It will also check if anyone else is using that name convention. So if somebody else has got that in use already, you'll have to change yours or add a number on the end. It will soon prompt you if it's not available. It will come up under there. You press next. Oh, I didn't select my grid type. So I'm going to say I want people to use school email, which for my purpose is going to be the email for Turn It On. Next. And in here you've got your school email, so you want to add the domains that can be used. So for instance, on this one, it's going to be only people with that Turn It On. So any of the Turn It On consultants in here today would be able to use this, but anybody who's outside one of the schools, you wouldn't be able to, but you can use the one that I've just shared with you at the bottom. Press next, and it's very quick like that. It's immediate, it's ready. As you can see, Microsoft have been quite forward thinking with this product. It does also link out to Google Classroom. So you've got the option there to send this out to Google Classroom. It links nicely into Teams, or you can get a copy of code and you can embed it. So you could embed it into a class team. So sometimes you're putting it into posts on a class team in Teams, or if you're putting it into Stream in Google Classroom, you can embed that link and then it's there and the pupils can get it straight out the stream or the posts, and it will open up Flipgrid in their web browser and they can make their response. You can also copy it from there, but I tend to embed it in one or the other at this point. I'm going to go to my grid, and then there's customization. So you can up here click it, you can go edit grid, and it allows you to go back in and change any of the details that were chosen at the point you were going through. Also down here at the bottom, the features are quite useful. So your grid's either going to be active or hidden. You can get notifications and you can have those daily or weekly so you don't get cluttered with them, or you can have never. If you want to allow the students that are involved to download and share their videos, you allow that on there, and also that means that someone else has made one, the other person can take it. If you want that off because you think that's going to be a bit of a nightmare, you switch it off. If you want grid followers to get notifications, you can turn that on or you can turn that off. And you can also have captions to make it more accessible, and the captions can come up in another language. So I might decide, look, I'm working with a group of Spanish pupils here, so I might have Spanish captions, and I can personalize it. I don't have to have this default picture. I could upload a picture, It has got resolution requirements there, and you can crop to fit, but you can put your own picture in. But for the purpose of today, I think I'm just going to quickly pick one up out of here. So as it's a community picture, I'm going to pick a community looking group, and there they are. And I'm going to press update grid. And then instantly I've customized my experience for people coming into my grid. But what I don't have yet are topics. So the topics are really important because the grid is just the space, like an empty office or a room that they're invited to, but they need a subject or a focus to discuss or contribute to. So we need to get a new topic. So down here we go add new topic, and the topic title might be how have you been helping schools, because this is a turn it on one. Questions, what have you been doing to make their life easier? And describe a difficult situation overcome. And as you can see, it's quite quick and easy, and it can either be statements or it can be questions. And really these prompts act as the stimulus for the responses. It's the things that you want them to discuss. You'll get low quality responses if you don't make clear choices in here. And that is the guidance. It's quite big, so you've got 1,000 characters. That allows quite a bit of scope. I've seen some staff use it extracts from texts if they're using it for English. I've seen all sorts of things. Then you need to decide the length of the response video that you want. Shorter is better. I've had quite a few people with home broadband have really struggled if they've recorded big videos to get them uploaded. So I would recommend a minute or a minute and a half. I'm going to change mine to a minute. You can have video moderation. If that's the case, they get hidden from the students until you choose to release them or activate them. I'm going to enable that in case I get any consultants from Turn It On that decide to send some messages that are not necessarily appropriate. It's good for that too. You can also focus it, so you can add it to other groups or other platforms. And I'm going to go, there are more options hidden under there, so you can go more options. And you can have a topic tip. You could also add another attachment. That's where you can put a URL in. Maybe there's a YouTube video or a website you want them to go to. You can also give that a title. You can bring topics in here because the topic is active. Then down the bottom here, the video features are more extensive, so you can allow students to have an editor online when they're putting the videos in. So if they do maybe faff it up at the beginning and they stumble and there's some ums and ahs, they can trim that before they post. It allows them to have attachment links. You can see view counts. If you want, you can see likes. There's sticky notes, so they can add sticky notes when they're recording in video. And you can also have the student replies open. And then down the bottom, you can get basic feedback where they give you feedback about what it could be done to improve, or you can have custom feedback as well. So there's quite a bit of scope about what you can do with your topic in your grid. I'm going to press create, and then instantly my topics are ready. I can, if I've got tablet enabled devices with cameras on, you can get these, you can download them, and then when you've downloaded them like that, it will be a picture. And if I double click on that, it will come up in my web browser. So you can have these around the classroom. So another way of getting students or pupils into topics into Flipgrid really quickly is to have those around the classroom. And if you've got camera devices, iPads or Android tablets or something, you can scan the QR code quite quickly and it throws them straight into the website and straight into the grid with the topic that's appropriate, and then they can make their response. So I'm going to go all set at this point. Again, I can have it linked out to my Teams or my Classroom. And this is what it looks like. So here I go. I've got no topic picture, so I could add a picture in there. The other thing to say is Immersive Reader, again, is built right in. So if I've got pupils, it couldn't engage with that because it's quite busy. I can strip away all that clutter, bring it into Immersive Reader, and then I can have Immersive Reader to read it to them. And all the functions that you normally get in an Immersive Reader are there: changing your text size, changing your fonts, having different colored backgrounds if they need maybe a different color background. You can get it to pick out for spag type work, nouns, verbs, syllables, adjectives. You can also have picture dictionary enabled. You can choose it to display in another language. So there's a lot of scope there for your topics and your grids to be interpreted in Immersive Reader. You've always got your code there in case you need to share it. Up here, some of the options you had when you were editing are available. So you can record a response, which is what you're going to show you next. You can add topics for guests, add a disco library is something we'll come back to. It's basically a library that's a stimulus, and then you can hide the topic as well. You can move the topic to another grid, or you can duplicate the topic. So if you notice it's something you use quite frequently, you can bring it out, or you can export it all, or you can delete it. So quite a few options there. With the share options here, that brings you back to the screen where you were dumped back in. So if you didn't do what you needed to at that point, you can click the share button. If you need to edit anything, you can go back in there, all the edit options that we had before. So at the moment, I haven't got any responses, but if I was to receive this and maybe I now want to make a response, or I am going to add a response as the originator of the topic and I want something for my pupils or my staff to see, I click record a response. I then get the message it wants to use my browser. It's already moaning because in this situation I am using Teams, so I'm already using the camera and the mic, but I am going to allow it. We'll see how we get on. And then the camera and mic says allow. I can't do it because it's detected it's using it in Teams, but they'll need to either retry the camera and it will release, or it will block them if they're using it in another platform. So that is one of the stumbling blocks that you need to make them aware of. If it doesn't release, you can either enable them up here or you can enable them up here because you've got settings for the page. And then you record your video. Once you've recorded your video, it will say at the end, are you happy with it? Do you want to edit it? Do you want to add any stickers onto it? Because you can add stickers and effects on your video. And then you post a response. Or if you've made your video elsewhere and you want to bring it into Flipgrid and it fits the criteria, such as it's short enough, you can press import and you can drag your video in here and then you can edit it after that. You can also, you've got a very, very, very small editing head here, so you can edit and go backwards and forwards, and then it'll be ready to contribute to your topic. And from there on, you can go back to your grids. So there's my TIO staff community grid. There's my other one. Here's the one that we shared with you just a minute ago. So I put my picture in there, got my Flipgrid ideas. So I might go in there. So here we are. It was for the MIEEs. I wanted them to have the opportunity, if they wanted to make responses. They're using another one as it happens, but it's as simple as that. And then it starts to build up. So it's all about the pupils and the students or the staff having a place to voice their contributions, or if you want to capture their opinions and feedback in their voice about a certain idea, a topic, or a challenge that they've maybe faced. Could be you had one about challenges of coronavirus for staff or for students. It all goes in here, and then you've got all those videos in one place, and what it makes is an amazing resource. As you can see from the picture up there, the feedback starts to become really powerful, and the fact they can all see each other's. And if you want to, as you saw in the setup, you can stop them downloading and taking those videos and using them for other purposes. And for an e-safety and safeguarding point of view, I would recommend that. But they can certainly view them as one board down here, and this becomes a load of thumbnails where they can go in and access the videos, and it then might stimulate them to make a further response to the topic. They can as well see that this topic is moderated, so I'm letting them know that as a teacher, I'm in here. This isn't a free-for-all. I will be releasing their videos and I will be checking their videos, and everything they do is fed back to me, and I get emails about that as my daily summary. So there's lots of ways for you to stay on top of it as a teacher and understand what's happening. Just going to pop back over to the presentation. So from today, there are certain things that you can do. On the Microsoft Educator Center, there is a very good starting point, and that's called Engage and Amplify with Flipgrid, and that's one course. And then once you get past the basics, the second course is Beyond the Basics, and that takes you into some of the deeper elements. It also gives you some case studies from schools. Down the bottom are links to the Flipgrid page, and that will take you in, and it will give you the way to create your own Flipgrids, and also resources that will help you in school. So there's a guide that you can share with staff if you're introducing this to staff. So as far as having a go today, I want you to create your own Flipgrid. I want you to add topics to that grid. then contribute to the topics by making a Flipgrid response, which is the video, and then trial winding out and using those Flipgrids in the wider school community. Some people try it within a subject or a phase team, others try it within a pastoral team. Sometimes I've seen leadership teams in schools have a go, and they're trying it between that. I've also seen it used with governors. It's also been quite effective with that. So there's lots of different ways to start to use your Flipgrids, either with staff or with pupils in the classroom. As far as showing you today what Flipgrid can do, that is the only elements I need to show you to get you started. So I'm going to have a look over in the conversation and see if there's any questions, and there isn't. So if anybody wants to unmute their mic, I'm more than happy to take questions at this point. Okay, if anybody hasn't got anything they want to ask.
I've got one question, Martin. Can you export email accounts, mailing addresses from your Outlook to send to parents' mailing lists, for instance?
In the context of sending links to Flipgrids?
Yeah, so if you uploaded a video to the Flipgrid and you wanted to share that with parents, can you do that? And would you have to enter all of their emails individually, or can you import it from a list you've already created in Outlook?
Okay, so I have seen some schools that are really deeply into this invite parents to view grids, and almost like you're showcasing work if you're inviting them in to see a celebration assembly or come in for an open morning and wander around the classrooms. So you could do that for a period of time so they can see, but you absolutely, from a GDPR point of view, you need to have explicit consent from every parent and guardian that has a child involved, because you are opening up their video responses to the outside world. And as a teacher, you need to be absolutely sure from a safeguarding point of view that you've watched those videos. There's nothing in the background that could disclose anything that puts a child at risk, or that it shouldn't put a member of staff at risk. You could email a link directly for a single video, and I would just put that link in an email and I would send it to the relevant parent if you want to do it that way.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. All right. Well, I will be on here for a little bit. I'll wait around, but I'll say thank you to everyone that came today. Just to give you the heads up for next week, we don't have a webinar on Monday, and there will be webinars resuming on Wednesday and on Friday. Wednesday, I think from memory, I think it was Immersive Reader and also more accessibility tools in addition to the accessibility tools we covered previously. And then on Friday, I believe it was the new features coming in Teams, and how those features go impact upon schools and when they're going to be available. So there'll be a Teams update and all the features that are going to be changing in the next month or so and how that's going to develop. So I am going to wait around here, but if you want to ask anything, you can. I'm going to mute my mic and say thank you to everyone for coming along. Have a safe day, and I'll speak